Right. Ashreinu ma toiv chelkeinu ma noim Yeraleinu ma yafa 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 Yerushaseinu. This is a beautiful Hasidic melody. It's part of the daily service. How fortunate are we? So by Chassidim, it's how fortunate are we? How fortunate are we that we're Jewish? How good is our portion that we're Hasidim? And how pleasant is our lot that we're Chabad Hasidim? Chachma Bina V'das, wisdom, understanding, and knowledge, L'bavitch Hasidim. How beautiful that is. To revel in your identity is a beautiful thing. Not put it in the face of others, but just for yourself. That's a beautiful thing. To appreciate your identity and the specialness that you have. Not individual specialness here, but a collective. That's a beautiful thing. And hence we have this beautiful melody that is part of the daily service, actually part of the morning, or before the communal prayer starts. This is a prayer that we use. Welcome to Tanya today. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zichron Kadeshim, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. You're right. Sharing is caring. And it doesn't get stale with time. On the contrary, it becomes more relevant and more real and authentic. Why? Because we become more real and more authentic because we implement teachings of the Tanya in our lives. And because we implement teachings of it in our lives, when we learn it over and over, it remains fresh, it remains new, it remains even more current, which is beautiful. So we're in chapter 33. In this chapter, we're bringing out the notion that we have teachings that is fundamental to our faith. And what is that? That when I think about the unity of God in my mind, I ponder it, I meditate upon it, right? That God is not up in the heavens above and he's looking down here and he's giving reward and punishment. And I'm just seeking my reward. No. That God's unity, that there's nothing outside of him. And when I entertain that thought within me, what I'm doing is making the king dwell in my residence where I live. As the metaphor, imagine a simple person. That's who we are, we're simple people. That have the king come want to be a guest in my home. Wow. What kind of joy would that bring? Now, there might be some kind of trepidation because you don't want to, mess up, but just the notion of it, that the king is going to come to my help. Wow, what a joy. What amazing. Well, the king does come to my residence because you know where I live? Right here, between the temples, what you think. So if I think about him and entertain his unity and oneness within my mind, I'm making him a residence. He's dwelling together with me in my home, my head. Huh? Well, in the end, he's the landowner, the owner of the building. He's owner of the property. Yeah, imagine you didn't let the owner of the property into the property, right? Chassid once he came from a non-Chassidic background, so he met his Rosh Yeshiva and he asked him, what led you to, you were such a child prodigy, you were a prodigy student. What led you to become a chassid? Because now I can read people's minds. What? He said, yeah, try me. He says, try me. Says, okay. What do you think I'm thinking? Says, well, you're thinking about God. Says, no, I'm not. Oh, that's why I became a chassid. uh, so what this is then that we can entertain the Almighty and to reside in my home, in my head, in my thoughts, right? He's the owner of it. So not to let him in is pretty sad. But that doesn't mean I have to think and meditate and really, allow it to germinate within my head. But if I do, right? So the ability to experience and to absorb God's unity in me is a praise that we have to give to God. And that's what our sages give at the beginning of this service every morning, that we say, Ashreinu matad chalkeinu omanayim gairaleinu umayafa yafa 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 Yerushaseinu. Excuse my nasalness. How fortunate are we? How good is our portion? How pleasant is our lot? And how beautiful our heritage. And what is that? That we rejoice and we're glad with the immense fortune that by inheritance, in other words, not because we worked hard on this, but we've been inherited what? We've been inherited a faith. What's our faith? What's our faith? That I can entertain God and his unity. The faith is that there's no other reality but God. That's our faith. Why is it faith? Because the physical eye doesn't appear that way. The physical eye, I'm here and I'm really important in a good way. I gotta find fulfillment in life. I gotta fill myself up. I'll take God to fill me up. Because, hey, what better can you have? That's not God's unity. That's not our faith. Our faith is that God is one and only, the only reality. Now, I don't experience that. I don't feel that totally, but I could be aware of it in my mind and live with that in my mind. We've been bequeathed that faith by our forefathers, the true unity of God, that there's nothing else besides him. And when we have that awareness of God's unity and nullify ourselves before God, wow, that's what we're fortunate with. Other people, fortune is material fortune, or even spiritual fortune, right? Then I'm going to go to heaven, get spiritual fortune. That's not our faith. That's not our fortune. Our fortune is God, and that we can have Him entertained in my mind, right? Entertained, right? That I'm house, I'm housing in my mind the King. Powerful, and for that we feel fortunate, and we feel what a great heritage we have, what a great faith we have. Wow, this is so counter anything that this world or anybody buys into. This is unreal. What a truth that the world's not aware of. We need more people here to come and learn to become aware of this truth. With this, then, we can understand what our sages say in the Talmud, that there's 613 mitzvahs were given to the Jewish people. Habakkuk, the prophet, came and he based them on one. In the end, all the mitzvahs, I really just want. And what's that? Faith. 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 What faith? That there's nothing else but God, right? That the only reality is God. That's our faith. Right? As it's written in the verse, in Chavkuk it says, Sadik b'emunah yichya, that a righteous lives by his faith. What does that mean? That all the mitzvahs really come down to one mitzvah, faith. That through faith alone, you will actually come to all the 613 mitzvahs. In other words, knowing that God is the only reality, the unity and oneness of God, that I'm not separate from God, nothing separate from Him, right? When we have that faith, we will come to actually fulfill all 613 mitzvahs. Because when our heart will rejoice and be glad with this faith of the unity of God in a perfect joy, right? Although we're obligated in this one mitzvah alone, right? For which the world was created, that we should come to recognize that, hey, nothing else but Him. That recognition will lead me to fulfill whatever He needs from me. And you know what He needs from me? 613 mitzvahs. And there will be no obstacle, not from within me and not from beyond me, outside of me, that there will be an obstacle that will allow me, that will not allow me to fulfill what He needs and wants from me. The expression yichya means will live. In other words, this is what revives us now and revives us for the future, right? A redoubled joy that now that we apprehend God is that He's near, right? What a joyful thing that God's so near. He's not removed, right? That's what our faith is saying. There's no other reality but Him, so He's not removed. He's very present, real, accessible, and that I can dwell together with Him in this moment, not outside of Him, but one with Him. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Any questions, any thoughts? Again, I want to re-emphasize the richness of this idea We're so used to that what's joy, what's fortunate, where's my fortune, and what I have. And here we have something, it's called faith. That's our fortune. That's our inheritance that's been given to us. Inheritance meaning I don't work hard for this. To come to love God and have awe for God, well, you got to work on that. That's, an inside job. And it's not easy. But here, I don't have to work for this. I just have to think it, meditate on it, of the unity and the oneness of God. That's and then sense that God is, hey, He's near. I dwell together with Him. That's going to bring great joy, a real great joy. All right. I don't see any questions. Anybody have? It is easier to fool this, to feel this in the month of Elul when the king is in the field. Yeah, yeah, that's true. And Davida, correct that. There are we have to recognize that there are times that this is more um, or more capable of us to appreciate this, right? Like the month of Elul, that the king is in the field, 100%. But the truth of it, and that's importance, is always, right? It's always true and always something that we have access to. So what's the call to action? Let's take a moment today and think and meditate upon God's unity, to think about it, and to allow yourself to feel the joy in just coming to that, realization and that awareness and, and that sense of connection. Yeah. All right. Rambam is coming up, folks. Come and join us learning the laws of Torah study. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zichron Kadesh in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and pleasure to share with you, Tanya.